I find videos like this a little bit difficult to do because there's a few different layers to this. Here are the layers. Number one, Volkswagen has said, this was a while back now, that plug-in hybrids basically suck and are not the answer. They're a fill-in technology. As a response to this, Li Auto, you know who they are, right? They're the biggest SUV plug-in hybrid makers in China, got really angry at Volkswagen. In response to that, Great Wall Motors said Volkswagen was right. Plug-in hybrids, while they suck, they're not the future. And then a bunch of other people started to chime in. Well, in addition to all of that, Volkswagen has just said it's massively ramping up its production of electric cars in China. It's trying to say, hey, investors, don't worry. It's not all going to hell in a handcart just yet. Is this actually true? Hello my friends and welcome to the channel. First of all, let's look at what Volkswagen is doing. Now actually, first of all, thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. I made a video showing you that doing this job can be difficult emotionally. And you guys have responded with emails and messages and it means a lot to me. Thank you so much for those messages. I really appreciate it. Volkswagen. I have made a number of videos on the possibility of them going bankrupt by the end of this decade. When I say bankrupt, I mean, people don't understand. If a company is making 9 million vehicles a year, and that goes all the way down to, say, 2 million in a very short space of time, that's how bankruptcy can happen. I mean, you don't need to have zero demand to hit bankruptcy. You need to have a lot of debt, a lot of overheads, a lot of staff who are on, a lot of them are on union wages that you can't just fire. The only way often for a company to restructure itself and to stay alive often is actually bankruptcy. I mean, look at America. Perfect example. Every automaker basically every automaker has gone bankrupt. The ones that have gone bankrupt and then re-emerged from bankruptcy as a different entity without all those things hanging over them. So that's what could happen to Volkswagen, and that's why they're panicking right now. Their electric vehicle sales are like BMW's. Their vehicle sales in their biggest market in the world, which is China, 40% of all Volkswagen vehicles sold worldwide are in China, are crashing right now. There's no other way to put it. That's not clickbait. That's not me trying to get you worked up. If you love Volkswagen, that's just telling you the truth. Volkswagen make 50% of their profit worldwide in China. They're very well aware of that reality. They're very well aware they're losing market share there. They're very well aware, as Herbert Diess has mentioned numerous times, that the Chinese are coming and that Volkswagen should be very concerned about that. So Volkswagen is saying that they are now in position to essentially double the number of EVs they put out in China. In the second half of this year, Volkswagen's ID series of electric vehicles will maintain 15,000 to 20,000 deliveries per month in China, doubling last year's sales by the end of the year, according to Stefan Willenstein, who's CEO of Volkswagen Group in China. Now, this guy, he's quite interesting. He makes some comments where he just says what he thinks. He's one of those kind of German guys who's just like, nah, here's what I think. Here's the truth, and you can just deal with it. I quite like that kind of thing. It's refreshing. Volkswagen's ID series delivered 17,600 units in China in June. That's an increase of 107% from May. Of course, part of that increase from May was because May was a tough month for the entire industry in China. So we can't really look at that too heavily. However, separately, data from the China Passenger Car Association showed that Volkswagen's joint venture in China, FAW Volkswagen, sold 12,000 new energy vehicles, a combination of plug-in hybrids and fully electric cars, compared with 10,000 units for its other joint venture, SAIC Volkswagen. So if you start to add these up, you can see that Volkswagen's vehicle number is bigger than it looks. The other thing is Volkswagen actually have another car brand, which I've made a video about. For those of you who really watch the channel, you would know the other car brand that Volkswagen make. You can actually buy these Volkswagen cars if you're in America or in Europe, if you're in a country where your vehicles are left-hand drive, which is most of the world. Unfortunately, us idiots in Australia decided we'd have right-hand drive cars. You idiots in the UK made us do it. So therefore, we miss out on most cars around the world. Anyhow, another story. So if you wanted to, you can go into a Chinese website right now. You can buy these Volkswagen cars, which are under a totally different brand. A very similar car to the Volkswagen Up, the fully electric Volkswagen Up, which is sold out for a year, I think, in Europe. You can buy them for like seriously $9,000 in China. It's basically the same car rebranded. But in Europe, they're like $35,000, ridiculous amount of money for the size of car. 1/3 of the price in China. It's crazy. But you can see the point here. Manufacturing in China, efficiency is so much greater than manufacturing outside of China. Well, especially when it comes to electric cars anyway. The entire supply chain there is just lined up perfectly for manufacturers. So it's worth noting, says cnevpost.com, where I'm getting a lot of this info from, not all of it, but some of it, that the CPCA's reference to electric vehicles includes both pure electric vehicles like the ID family and plug-in hybrids. Right now in China, you can get the ID3, the ID4, the ID6, and probably a few different new ID models are coming up as well. Now, the ID3 is produced in China only by SAIC Volkswagen. Volkswagen is a 50-50 joint venture partner in that, so they get 50% of the profits. SAIC gets 50%. The ID4 and the ID6 are produced by SAIC Volkswagen and FAW Volkswagen, respectively. So, yeah, the reality is, even when you see these Volkswagen numbers reported, their sales figures in China, they don't currently make any of them themselves. So, at best, they'll get 50% of the profits from the sales here. Important to keep that in mind. If you see Tesla sales figures, you see NIO sales figures, you see XPeng sales figures. Well, not NIO because they have to pay JSC to build the cars, but XPeng, BYD, these guys are getting 100% of the profit, if they make a profit, from their electric car sales. Volkswagen, on the other hand, is getting 50% of the profits if they make a profit, and of course, only 50% of the losses if they make a loss. So what's coming up right now? For Volkswagen, they've got the ID Aero, which is the Volkswagen's new global all-electric sedan. And after its launch in China in 2023, it's going to be sold in the US and Europe. So if you want the Volkswagen Aero sedan, well, you can get one of those in Europe or in the United States in either 2023 or 2024. Would I buy one? Hell no. Sedans are like they're ancient. I mean, why would you buy a sedan? They don't make sense to me. I don't know why anyone does. I mean, you can buy a station wagon. It's the same thing, but it's got a boot. Like, it makes a lot more sense to me. Anyhow, the Passat is basically that, isn't it? This Passat wagon is like, in my opinion, that's the kind of car would be the perfect electric car. Electrify one of those. Anyhow, now, Wolfenstein gave his opinion on plug-in hybrids, and he made people angry. He said, from a customer value perspective, extended range hybrids are a transitional technology and Volkswagen will not pursue this. In September 2020, he said that extended range EVs have some value from a single vehicle perspective, but from the perspective of the entire country and the planet, it's nonsense and the worst solution. This was said by Volkswagen CEO in China 2 years ago. Interesting, right? Now, at the time, this really pissed off Li Auto's chairman, says CNF Post, and CEO Li Yang, who responded at the time that Li Auto was more than willing to conduct energy efficiency and environmental tests with Volkswagen's most advanced plug-in hybrids and use real numbers to see who performed better. Well, I think they missed the point. Volkswagen was saying plug-in hybrids, they're not the future, EVs are. So the fact that Li Auto wanted to compare the two plug-in hybrids against each other was really irrelevant. Now, interestingly, Li Auto held a grudge for a couple of years about this, and only a few months ago, they actually posted a chart on their Weibo account, which is like Chinese social media, showing that since deliveries began in December of 2019, the extended range electric vehicle plug-in hybrid Li 1 has spent 24 months to become the top-selling mid-size SUV in the Chinese market. Now, that's not actually true, because the Tesla Model Y has taken the top place a number of times, so I'm not really sure. Maybe they've just found some category where they can say that they're number one. But anyway, he posted that because he was annoyed at Volkswagen, what they were saying. Even though Volkswagen wasn't intentionally targeting Li Auto, they decided that they would take offense. Now, in addition to this, apparently quite a number of executives in China who are unwilling to say who they are for fear of offending Li Auto have said, from different car companies there, have said, no, plug-in hybrids are not the future. Even if BYD is doing well selling them, they're not the future. Electric cars are. Now, an hour after the CEO of Li Auto posted this nonsense, right, showing their sales of their cars, trying to prove that plug-in hybrids are the future, the vice president of Great Wall Motors and CEO of the car company's Way brand, which is their electric vehicle brand, posted a response on Weibo as well. He said, extended range technology, plug-in hybrids, are outdated. And that is the industry consensus. And the funny thing was, right after I finished reading this, I looked down and I found this old piece of junk, right? Just sitting in my drawer. I don't know what's there. I can't even remember how it got there. But remember when these things were like new and cool? Look how small that screen is. Look how small those buttons are. I remember thinking, what will I do with a phone without buttons? What will you do with a car without a motor? Drive it. Thanks for watching.